Hello, this is George Senda, the guy from Pittsburgh, and this is yet another episode of Donald Trump Talk. But first, I want to bring up something I did try last night. I went out to Advance America to try to get a loan for my internet bill and the cat food, and they have a stupid policy. 20% of the people in this country do not have cell phones, but they have a policy. They won't give you a loan if you don't have a cell phone. No, I have a cell phone, but the problem is I can't afford to activate them. I kept buying track phones. There's one. This is the most recent one I bought when I went out with Kathy and Patty a while back. I can't find the back of it. And there's this one. These are the El Cheapo ones. You put $20 at a time, and track phone has a policy where if you don't activate it and put time on it after 60 days, they rip you off for $20. This is the iPhone 4S, I don't know. Got the charger somewhere. This broke when I watched a YouTube video how to get the external case I put on off, the Amantha case. And I watched a YouTube video and said use a knife or a spoon. I broke the case. That one was the Verizon phone, and I dropped Verizon when they would know. They kept dropping my calls for 3 months, and they kept saying, send us the call history and we'll fix it, and they never did. This is my former AT&T 5S, and I had similar problems with AT&T in that it kept switching the data plan and driving my bill from $45 a month to $75. And 3, 4, 5 months of trying to get them to fix that. They couldn't fix it, so I stopped paying for it. I refused. I'm not going to pay for a cell phone that doesn't work. So I got 5 cell phones here, but couldn't get a loan. And there are those who say that I get all my news off the internet. Well, I'm just going to show you 2 examples. I get the paper. This is from November. And our local paper here is very anti-Trump. And, of course, this being my favorite, which I will frame eventually, Trump Stunner. And I get the Martinez Tribune. And I read the Washington Post online. I read the Denver Post. I read the Seattle Press Intelligencer. I read the Miami Herald. I read the Washington Times, the New York Times, the Wall Street Journal. I go down to Starbucks and take a look at those. So I read stuff on and off the net, and everything from Politico, The Blaze, Breitbart, left and right sites, CNN, Fox. So I'm reasonably well informed. Now, today's video is about this. There's been a lot of talk that Nostradamus, a guy who lived 500 years ago, predicted the election of Donald Trump. The problem is that all these quatrains they refer to, quatrain century 1, quatrain 25, they've referred this to Trump when it's about Pasteur. And one guy interpreted it, throwing out the word Pasteur and said it was pastor, and talked about T. Lawrence's captivity at the hands of the Arabs and how he was raped while in captivity and he never got over it. And then there's the one about the audacious brawler, and they quote the audacious brawler, and they also say about the same quatrain, saying that through others' slanders, he will be dishonored. They're talking about Trump when it's not about Trump at all. And there's also this. They add one line that's not in the quatrain. The lost thing is discovered, hidden for many centuries. They talk about that in Trump's revelation that he grabbed a female body part. And then here's the one. I'm not going to read it in French. Quatrain 381. The great, shameless, audacious baller. He will be elected governor of the army. The boldness of his contention, the bridge broken, the city faint from fear. Now, audacious and baller. Audacious means bold or daring, recklessly brave, fearless, extremely original, without restriction to prior ideas, highly inventive, and then one not so complimentary, recklessly bold in defiance of convention, propriety, or law, insolent and brazen, unrestrained, and uninhibited, all of which could apply to Trump, I suppose. And then there's this one that Clinton supporters thought meant that she would win the election. Great exertion, toward the North by a man-woman. I don't know what that's supposed to mean. To vex Europe and almost all the universe. Now, I don't know what Nostradamus meant by the universe. The two eclipses will be put into such a rout that they will reinforce life or death for the Hungarians. Now, my grandmother was from Hungary, so I don't know what was going on in Hungary that Nostradamus would see this 500 years ago. And by the way, I have 5 books here on prophecy. One by the great fraud, Sylvia Browne. And let me read you something out of her book. She goes, Politics and the Economy. And I'll read you the quote. I do like her idea of limiting the Senate and the House to so many terms. A president elected sometime after 2008, that's a little vague, will die in office of a heart attack. The vice president in line to finish his term will have the unpopular and terribly mistaken intent to declare war on North Korea, which will by then possess weapons of mass destruction. Of course, they don't have a delivery system, do they, that will reach Japan, Taiwan, the Philippines, or the U.S. yet. In midst of his unsuccessful efforts to rally congressional and international support for a declaration of war, he will be assassinated. Well, that hasn't happened. Then we have this book, Erica Cheatham, based on the movie The Man Who Could See Tomorrow, and with Orson Welles. Well, she says quatrain 25 is but pasteur. Then we have this book. Nowhere about Trump in there. Then we have this book. No Trump in that book. And then finally, you know this guy. He ain't got Trump either, but he was John Vague Hogue, but the king of vague. But he was all for Jeb Bush, then he switched to Hillary Clinton, and then his mystical seer that he consults from beyond said that Trump would not get the nomination, and there was no way Trump would be president. And we saw that on, you can see that, on Hogue's website, where he literally says Trump will neither get the nomination nor will he be elected president. So that shows the veracity of John Hogue, and Nori keeps touting it every year. You've made these successful presidential predictions since 1968, which is totally false. So when you look at these things about Nostradamus predicted this, that, or the other, all of these are written in medieval French 500 years ago, and they're all subject to interpretation and misinterpretation. And take that into account. Take some of this stuff with a grain or even a pound of salt and act accordingly. All right, this is George Senda, the guy from Pittsburgh. I'll be back in a minute with another video. Have a great day. Stay safe and dry out there if you can, and I'll catch you next time. Bye-bye.